Okay, we're recording. We are live streaming to Facebook. There you go.
Would you give the instructions, Roger, please?
Okay. If you're calling into the meeting and you've been muted, you'll have to raise your hand. You'll have to press *3 on your phone. When it's your turn to speak, then we will call on you. Then you can press *6. Again, when you're ready to speak, you like to raise your hand, press *3 on your phone. We will call on you, and then you can press *6 to mute yourself.
Yeah, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Stonington Board of Police Commissioners for Thursday, April 8th, 2021 to order. And we start by having pledge allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Police commissioners in the police department here are myself, Bob Elmers. Bob Tabor, are you online?
I am.
Bill Turner? Bill Turner, are you there?
Just got the hand wave.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Bates, were you able to get online yet? Commissioner Bates may be a little late joining our meeting as she's had some pressing business before she's coming down, so she may sign on by phone. I'm going to ask for remarks of the public. If there's anybody that has any remarks that is not on our agenda, if you're on our agenda, please wait until that subject comes up. So is there anybody that wants to bring an issue to the Board of Police Commissioners that is not on our agenda? Roger, anyone raising their hand?
No, there's nobody dialed in. Everybody is within the meeting of WebEx itself. Nobody is calling on themselves. If you're in the meeting and you want to make a public comment at this time that's not on the agenda, if you hover over your link, your name, there'll be a little hand that comes up. Click on that. Otherwise, please wait until your agenda item comes up and we'll call on you at that time.
All right, we'll move on to new business. The first thing that on new business is the St. Michael's School 5K road race and 1 mile fun run for November 6th, 2021. Is there anybody online that wants to discuss that issue with the board?
Hi, yes, can you hear me? This is Danielle Yates.
Yes, Danielle, we can hear you.
Hi, I'm one of the directors, and Bethany Kennedy is online as well, and she's a director.
Great.
So yes, we were just hoping to get our race approved for the annual race to go forward on November 6th. Hoping we can do an in-person race this year.
Great. We have your request. Chief, do you have any concerns about the race? It's been a thing that we had for a number of years here.
Been around for a while. They do a nice job. It raises money for their school, and also it's good to see that some of these are coming back finally. So certainly, the only thing I'd ask is that they haven't already provided the insurance and the hold harmless, which they usually do, and we usually have volunteers that assist. So
Great. Okay.
Yes.
Are there any questions from any of the commissioners on the race? Go. Okay. Can I entertain a motion to approve the 12th annual 5K road race for November 6, 2021, based on the fact that they provide their insurance?
So moved.
Second.
Bill Turner, seconded by Mr. Tabor. All those in favor? Okay, the motion passed. Thank you very much, Danielle. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate
it.
I just want
Great.
to thank the chief for his kind remarks. It means a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Under new business, we have, and this is a notification for us for a request for a zoning change. It really doesn't affect us because there doesn't appear to be any traffic issues with this. This has to do with a change to get agriculture into a zone that it doesn't have before. Chief, do you have anything about any issues with this?
It just seems like they're moving maybe a outdoor type, growing operation to an indoor, somewhere along the line there. So I don't think it affects, traffic, parking, or safety in any way.
Okay, all right. I have a motion just to send our comments on to the board doesn't see any issues with this at this time. Send this on to the zoning board.
So moved.
Mr. Tabor, second. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Mr. Elmer, okay. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Send it on. Okay, thank you. Under old business, it's an update from Richard. Richard, it's your time on the line.
Okay, thanks for having me again. First thing on the agenda is the police department surveillance system. 45 cameras are all operational and they're all working as they should. The effective date of the start of recording was February 24th, 2021. The primary server that we had such a trouble getting is installed. It's in the basement. The first workstation, which is a computer that is operated by the dispatchers, that's located in dispatch. The second workstation, that is for the large screen in the back of dispatch, that is for prisoner monitoring, town camera monitoring, etc. And the third workstation is operational in the detective's office, which is upstairs on the second floor. One of the unique things that we tried to do, and we were successful, was getting to having the jail cells record at 3 different locations, simply just for redundancy. So they're recording on the primary server, each jail cell camera, and on an independent network recorder, which I'll talk about in a moment. Along the way, we realized that one of the cameras in the back, one of the older cameras that we were going to use, was broken. Something happened to it. Seems like it was a power surge. That was the rear parking camera. So I went ahead and replaced that, and that's all as well. One of the unique things about this system is that we're able to customize it for your needs. So in talking to your sergeants and the dispatchers, they kind of explained to me what templates they wanted. So we customized those templates and we put them all on the left side of the screen. So at their convenience, they can pull them over and they can choose any one of the 45 cameras in any configuration that they'd like. Last couple days ago, Tuesday, we completed training specifically for the sergeants, the dispatcher who was on duty, and importantly was also all the detectives were present. We went over live playback, recording, how to put all the cameras in one matrix to make the downloading very simple. It's a 2-step process. You locate the time and date that you're looking for. You put those cameras in the matrix, and you simply download that video, and it exports it. Much simpler than the old way of doing it. I had mentioned there's a separate network recorder installed. This recorder was installed basically for the convenience of viewing the cameras throughout the building. And that seems to be very helpful, particularly for the sergeants in their location. This system is different in that it operates on the town network, where town IT network, where the other system operates on its own network. One of the takeaways from that is that we do want to add a list of trusted computers that we should add to that recorder, so that we can make sure that recorder is specifically aimed and targeted just for those trusted computers within the building. Some of the recommendations that I have going forward, and the police and captain are already in action working on these. is to upgrade the Comcast modem. The modem that's installed, it's very slow. The service that you're paying for is not quite up to what we need for today's technology. It was fine when we first started the network, but for today we need to up that quite a bit. So I know they put the order into Comcast to have that service improved from 100 megabit to 300 megabit, and that'll definitely improve the performance of the outside cameras. Outside meaning the town-wide cameras. Another takeaway that's an important takeaway is two of the first cameras that we installed were at the Pawcatuck Rotary in Cogswell Street. Those cameras are still operating, but their encoding method, the way they deliver pictures on the internet to the police station, is kind of outdated, and it's not really compatible with the new system. Primarily because it takes too much bandwidth for those cameras to make it over the circuit into the recorder. So again, I'm going to recommend that we replace those two cameras. Also, the workstation number 2, which was the original computer that we had purchased many years ago, it simply just needs to be upgraded from Windows 7 to Windows 10. That shouldn't be a big hassle to do that. Another thought here is with the independent network recorder, is before we go ahead and connect it to many more computers, it'd probably be a good idea to make sure those computers are up to speed for that. Unlike a regular spreadsheet or even the video that we're looking at now, even the cameras that you're looking at on your screen, the video cameras that are on the system are very, very bandwidth intensive. So with that becomes sometimes there's some latency problems. The computers can slow down. I know Roger's got a really good handle on that, so I'm not terribly worried about that, but it's just something to be aware of. Going forward, maybe in the next budget year, at least in discussions, it would probably be a good idea to start thinking about the remote cameras that you have in town, to have dedicated circuits installed for them using VPN services, which is a private tunnel, and it's a point-to-point connection. It would improve security, and it would definitely improve performance of those cameras. It's fairly common in public safety to do this. It's not terribly expensive as it used to be. You can get private circuits for about $100 a month because again, we're not putting many cameras on each circuit. Usually, it's only one camera. Downtown Pawcatuck, you have 4, and that's the most that we have on the network. So even a regular VPN circuit would be more than adequate for that. And any questions on the camera system before I go to the two-way radio?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Richard,
I have one.
I'm sorry.
Well, go ahead, Bob. I'll follow you up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got a question going back to your first part of your presentation when you talked about the camera that needed to be replaced.
Yes, sir.
Was that out for a while that we were unaware of? I mean, do the cameras do they have the capability to send out a signal when they're offline? Or do we just see a black screen and a darkened screen?
That's a good question. So with the old system, you didn't have any notification that it was out other than that black screen like you just described. With the new system, it uses what's called a GPU configuration tool. That means a graphic processing configuration tool. And it's programmed so that all the cameras are required to report every 15 seconds. If they don't, it goes into the error log. And in the error log becomes a big, large red screen that pops up in that block where the camera is supposed to be. If that's not resolved within an hour or so, I end up getting an email. So oftentimes I'll be bothering the captain and saying, hey, this camera is offline, or this one's slow. That's one of the reasons we knew right off the bat about the Pawcatuck cameras, the rotary cameras in Cogswell, because I kept getting those alarms that
Okay.
the video compression was lagging.
Yeah, that was my only question. Obviously you don't want to be offline and it just coincidentally happens and there's some occurrence that needed to be,
Exactly.
so, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Richard, I just had a question. The two cameras that need to be replaced on Contra, what's the cost of those going to be?
If we do them
About-
if we do them at the same time, because on that top of that building, it takes quite a bit of labor to get up there, get to the ladders up there. If we do them at the same time, it's probably about $3,300 complete for it's about $1,500 per camera.
Okay.
And then I would say all said and done about $3,300.
Okay. Do any other commissioners have any questions on the cameras before we move on to radios? Richard,
Okay.
Chief, Captain, you have any questions? Okay. Go ahead, Richard.
Okay, great. So here's some interesting statistics that I received the other day from Scott from the state of Connecticut. In 2020, the Stonington Police Department had 217,833 transmissions, key-ups. That's an incredible number for a small town. Of that is 17,777 actual talk minutes on the state system, on the radio. So when we think about the reliance of the communications, it's nice to put a number to it. That's a long time, 17,000 minutes in 1 year. Also, one of the things I did notice, it came up a few days ago actually, is your ACO radios, which are a different model than the officers. They tend to go into a lock mode. They were locking up on their own, and I believe it's because of the latest software that was delivered to them over the air. I could be incorrect, but we did not have this problem previously. So those two radios, I took and reprogrammed them, and I added unlocked features to them, which leads me to the next point of Kenwood E.F. Johnson, who is the manufacturer of your radios, has released new firmware that has been approved and is also stable for your mobile units and for the portable radios. So I highly suggest that we start coordinating, reapplying firmware to all of those radios. Primarily because the state of Connecticut network, the infrastructure system, has already been updated to accept that firmware. There was a little bit of a problem about 6 months ago with the state network where they upgraded their side, and it was causing some of your Kenwood portable radios to disassociate from the network the closer you were to your site. So oftentimes officers would be within a mile or so of HQ and their radios would disassociate. That was because the network became desensitized to those radios because of the new Motorola settings. This new firmware addresses that problem, and I've tested it already, and it does work, and it works fine. Both the mobile version and the portable version. So I think it's pretty important we get this on the schedule. We've done this before. We round up all the police cars. We get those done first, primarily because they take the longest time. On average, it's about 17 minutes per car. It takes about 2 minutes to hook the wires up, but it takes about 15 minutes for the software to load into the radio. Once it loads into the radio, it then does a self-test, so that's another minute or so. It takes a long time, but it's something that we need to stay current with. So I'm gonna work with the captain and lieutenant to get that scheduled with both the portables and the mobiles.
Richard, is there any cost for that?
No, there's no cost. All that software comes free of charge from E.F. Johnson. And I simply just schedule it with the lieutenant, and we just do a round robin. We ask the cars to come in one at a time. Oftentimes, we're able to do 2 or 3 at a time. It takes a long time. You know, it's very labor intensive. It's certainly not hard work. It's just time.
All right, thanks.
Yep. The VHF system, I don't have any changes to report, other than that a lot of local fire departments are still budgeting for VHF radios. This is not a Stonington problem. I just want you to be aware of that as much as we try to convince folks to be interoperable with each other, it's very difficult because oftentimes local departments maintain their silo and they stay in it, and they don't want to try anything new. I know the chief has been a great advocate for the state system, and he's worked tirelessly on trying to convince them, particularly North Stonington, for example, perfect candidate. They have full coverage throughout their whole town. They wouldn't have to put up any infrastructure. Their old radios are due. And I bring this up only because of interoperability. In the event that you need to rely on them or vice versa. Communications on the fireground scene is so important. It's just a point that I want to bring up. And to be quite honest with you, I'll continue to bring it up until we can get somebody to listen. The last item is that your E.F. Johnson mobile microphones. You've gone through an awful lot of them, far more than you're supposed to, where the officer would key the microphone and it would not key up. So you were replacing these at no cost, but surely there's a big inconvenience to that. I finally worked with E.F. Johnson on this. And it's actually a very simple fix. There's a small screw inside of the microphone that is working its way loose. So we're going to take some of the microphones that are defective, and we're going to Loctite those screws inside of there, so that screw remains as a pivot, but it doesn't back itself out and disconnect from the internal switch. It sounds so simple, but you've probably gone through 15 or 20 microphones. And if you had to pay for them, they're almost $200 a piece. So luckily, they're still in the warranty, and we figured out the solution before they came out of warranty. But again, the devil's always in the details with these small things. I don't think so much this is something that you should do in-house. I definitely think it's something that I'd be more than happy to do for you. I don't recommend you taking the back of the microphones apart on your own, though. There's a lot of small parts in there that you surely don't want to have, explode on you once you open them up. Any questions on the radios?
Any commissioners have any questions?
Nope.
Chief, Captain? Thank you.
Richard, are you doing the microphones, or is Marcus? Because I
No.
got a call from Bruce yesterday.
Yeah, Bruce. Yeah, he's not gonna get paid to do these from Kenwood. So I was talking with Hendrickson today, which is the manufacturer's rep, and we did a round robin. The first thought was maybe a fixed price by Bruce to do these, but you know what? I don't see it. It's not. No, we're not going to do that. I'd be more than happy to take your box of microphones, sit in your conference room, and bang them out for you. I don't want to see you pay $50 per radio to do that. It'll take me 15 minutes per microphone to do it. Not a big deal.
Bruce also mentioned some new firmware. Is that
That's what we're talking about.
Earlier?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The firmware that you're on now, just to give you some reference, is 8.2816. The new version is 8.3016. We did not go to 8.29 on purpose, because it wasn't as stable as 2.8 is. So we purposely held off on that. So 8.30 is your next version. And that was just released about 2 weeks ago, and we tested it last week, and it performs as it should.
Is you in contact with Bruce? Because he was talking about doing our radios because they're purchased through him. And does the state know about it? And have they approved it? Because if Scott hasn't given the green light, then
I don't do any. I would not even have brought it up if this was not already vented to Scott. Scott is the one who suggested that we not go to 8.30, 8.29, and skip right over to 8.30.
Okay.
So yes.
Guess we'll leave it to you to work it out with Bruce.
Yeah, I'll take care of it.
Okay.
Now that being said, remember, if we need to purchase new mobiles, the mobile radio that you currently have in the car is no longer available. The new version, the VM7000, is considerably bigger and it takes up more real estate in the car. So we need to figure out whether or not you want to stay dual band in the car with anything new. If you want to do that, then we're going to have to make accommodations for the 7000. If you don't, you can save some money with the VM 5000 series mobiles.
Well, I think, Richard, because we're still so new in this, we're only, 2.5 years out with this, I would hope we wouldn't have to worry about a new radio for another at least 2.5 years.
I would hope not. So far, you've had a great failure rate. Great meaning very low failure rate on the mobile radios, other than the microphones.
Yep. Okay.
Richard, when would you plan to fix these?
I'm sorry, say that again?
When would you be planning to come down to fine tune this equipment you were talking about?
Oh, good. Well, my hope is I can coordinate it with Lieutenant Schneider, within the next week or so, because I'd like to get it done sooner than much later, because again, your portables still have the 8.28 on it, which still has a problem with the new Motorola software on the network.
So the lieutenant's right here, he's in the room, so I would suggest you get hold of him later tonight, Richard, and figure out a timetable.
Good enough.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do you have any questions, Brian?
All reserved.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Richard?
That's it.
Thank you very much.
Richard, thank you for doing that training the other day. Seems like some of the guys are a little more comfortable with using the recorder and things like that. So I appreciate you showing up here early and helping everybody out.
Absolutely, my
Great.
pleasure. Anytime.
Does any of the commissioners have any questions for Richard before he goes? All right, thank you, Richard. We'll move on to the next thing under old business. And this is a request for weekend flea market and farm at the old Sailor Ed's. And we tabled this from the March meeting, and we still have not received the details that we need to make a decision on this. I talked to George Scarscaroli this morning. He did send a site plan in, but we really don't have any real details on that. And I told him this morning that we will be tabling this till our next month's meeting in May. So he was fine with that. So hopefully we'll see him then. So we'll table this until next month. Any questions from the commissioners? All right. Next thing on the agenda is a letter regarding rectangular flashing beacons, and this is a letter that the chief received from the state of Connecticut back in February, and at no cost to the town. They were willing to put in flashing crosswalk beacons at locations in town. After reviewing that, the chief has recommended that we try to get two in the town of Stonington, one at Coogan's Boulevard near the Mystic Aquarium, and one on Pequot Seapost Road at the Denison Pequot Nature Center and the Homestead campus. So the chief has sent a letter to them requesting those two, and also asking them to review the possibility of getting one at a location that's really not authorized at this time by Mystic Seaport. So that letter went up to the Department of Transportation with that request, and as of today, we haven't heard anything back from them. Is that correct, Chief?
Correct.
So that's what that has to do with. As approval of the minutes of the Board of Police Commissioners regular meeting of March 11th, as was included in the commissioners' packages. Does anybody have any additions or changes to the minutes as it was passed out?
No.
Yep. Okay, can I have a motion to accept the minutes from the March 11th
I'll
meeting?
make a motion that we accept the minutes of the Thursday, March 11th, 2021 regular meeting.
And do I have a second?
I'll second that. Oh, sorry.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Mr.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, this
Yes.
is Commissioner Tabor. For some reason, my camera appears to have gone out. I think I detect some quiet applause for that, but I'm fearful to try to get it back. So I'm going to be here audibly, but not visually, I think. So
That's fine, Bob. We know what you look like.
yeah, I know. So I know it's an improvement for your evenings, but just to let you know.
All right, Chief, your report, please.
Okay, number A, budget report. If you look at the bottom line, we are 67.4% through the fiscal year. Actually, 71.2% through the fiscal year, but use 67.4%, which means that we are under budget at this point in time. So if I just do the quick math in my head, it's about 240-ish, 240,000 right now that we are under budget, but we have 3 months to go. You can see some lines are over, including building maintenance and a couple other ones, so we're gonna have to do some transfers at some point in time. But the good news is that we're fiscally okay at this point in time.
Do we have money in the account to replace those cameras on Cottrell Street at this
I have
time?
to look at, I don't have that wasn't included in the pack of the SIP account.
Yeah.
I have to see what's left in there. I think there is some in there, but we'll have to double check.
Great, thank you.
Then sort of moving along, monthly statistics. We're starting to get busy again. Summer's here, warm weather. You see the medical assist pops up a little bit. One of the big ones is pistol permit applications, 33 for March, for a total of 92 for the year. That's one a day right now as it goes. If it keeps going, it's going to set some records there. Sort of moving along, you have the alarm report, special event schedule, all those things that are right there. You're going to start to see some of the special events start to come back. Then under number E, we had another officer resign, take a different position. So I'd recommend to the police commission that they accept Officer Chris Hyde's resignation from the police department.
Okay, do I have a motion from the commission to accept Officer Chris Hyde's resignation from the Stonington Police Department?
I'll second.
We need a motion. Who made the motion?
I believe Commissioner Turner.
Bill Turner.
Okay, and Commissioner Bates seconded that. And then we, on F, there's a request for reserve status. Is there anyone to make a motion on that issue? No motion, so we'll pass on that. Chief, Exxon Enterprise, a quote for in-car recordings.
Yep, that's in your packet, just to give you an idea that was put forward So again, another shout out to Lieutenant Schneider for all of his work in getting that going and his back and forth with not only the Board of Finance, but with Jim Sullivan, the Director of Finance, and Axon themselves to keep that up and going. Under H, we had another resignation. The coach, Tom McCoy, has been down in the borough for, I'd say, probably almost a decade as one of the crossing guards for the kids down there. Morning, afternoon, became a bit of a fixture there. He is moving on for some health reasons in the family, so we'd have to vote to accept Tom's resignation.
I'd like to just make a statement that the Commission wants to thank Tom McCoy for his over 30 years of being a substitute teacher and a coach, and finally as a crossing guard here. He's a fixture for the borough. We want to thank him very much, and we will be sending him a thank you letter on his service. But do I have a motion to accept his resignation?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that with regret. He's a terrific fellow. He was one of my daughters when she was at Stonington High School. He was one of the associate coaches, and he's a very nice man.
Commissioner Bates, I understand that you know Tom pretty well. Would you like to make a statement about Tom?
Well, thank you, Chair. I appreciate that. And indeed, we are lucky enough to live here in the borough, and our son used to ride the bus from the time he was in first grade. And the care and the concern that Tom McCoy shows for every single child who comes across his path, actually for every single person. When anybody is going to cross the street there, and if Tom is there, he goes right out into the street and stops traffic, whether it's for a first grader or, a senior citizen. And he is always kind, always patient, and always had a smile and a joke for all the kids. So he will be greatly, greatly missed, certainly by my family, and I think by everyone here in the borough for that role. And I know across Stonington, as we heard from Commissioner Tabor, others have also really strong ties to Tom McCoy and great respect and admiration and love for him. So thank you for allowing me to say that. And I appreciate very much the fact, Chair, that we are going to move forward a formal thank you to Tom McCoy for his tremendous service for this community.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Bates. Chief, next item.
I think you have to all in favor.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. All in favor of the motion?
All right.
Aye. Aye.
So we'll take care of the letter, and then just so you know, we always had a backup crossing guard, so she's agreed to start down in the borough very shortly. So
right.
Sergeant Beebe handles the crossing guard, so he reached out to her, and so she already started. Danielle already started down in the borough.
Great.
So Lisa, you'll see a new crossing guard down there. So hopefully she's as good as Tom was over the years. So that was.
Well, thank
that was
you,
an
Chief.
easy...
We will make a point of welcoming her and thanking her for stepping into his big shoes.
Yes, thank you. Just sort of moving along. I've been talking to our town attorney and the union about the promotion of the sergeant. Obviously, it's in the up-and-coming budget, et cetera, so we're moving pretty quickly on that. So I'd recommend that next month, whether it be at a special meeting or your regular meeting, that we have the candidates for sergeant. Basically, you've already scored them. The commission already scored and ranked them. So I wouldn't go back and do that, but in all fairness to Commissioner Bates, who has not spoken with any of them, interviewed any of them, anything along that line, in such an important position, that we at least do a, for lack of a better term, meet and greet, and then the commission makes their decision on that. You get to choose from the top 5 candidates for the scoring as far as that went for the promotion, but at least gives the full commission the opportunity to talk to the candidates and get a feel on who they are. That's the future leadership of the department after we're gone, so I think it's an important part of it, in all fairness to Lisa, that she at least has a chance to see them and talk with them.
Right.
So I think maybe in a week or two, we start to look at whether we're just going to do it at our regular meeting or we do a special meeting. And that sort of goes into the the hiring status, that we're going to have a series of special meetings, I think, to look at 3 more lateral or already certified officers to come before the commission for possible hire. And then we did a physical agility that we had 10 candidates come out of. It looks like 13. It looks like 4 have passed the oral board and would be going forward to the police commission. And we have another 10 that is on the 22nd, 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. So if anybody wants to come on the 22nd at 5 o'clock at the high school, there'll be 10 more candidates and going through the physical assessment. So if nobody had a chance to see that, see what they do, then it's a good opportunity to take a look at that. So basically, excuse me, between the sergeant position and the hiring, it's going to take a couple of meetings here. And I think just trying to prepare and the laterals of 3 are pretty close to being able to go. So that could be probably in about a week and a half when the captain is ready. He'll let the chair know, and maybe sometime the week of the 22nd, 23rd, in that range. We are swearing in Officer Brito on the 26th, and possibly on that date, if everybody's out and about and any of you are going to attend, or a majority are going to attend, we may be able to do that even during the day. We don't have to do it at night, but if I'm trying to limit the amount of times you guys have to do something. So, I mean, let's just play around with some dates there, and then of course the remaining rookie officers, if you want to call it that. By then, we should have a pretty good handle on the number and set up interviews for them as well, and be off and running, because we have to have stuff at the academy for May 3rd. Possible name. So we have to move here pretty quick here.
And that swearing in is at 9 o'clock in the morning, Chief?
9 o'clock, right. Yep.
Any of the commissioners have any questions regarding this promotions and the hiring status? I know Commissioner Bates expressed the interest that we don't do it on the night of a regular meeting, so we'll certainly work around that and I'll get together with the chief and get back to each of the commissioners on a date and how we'll arrange that. So we'll get together on that.
Yeah, I think we have some windows of opportunity. I did speak to a fellow chief this afternoon, and he was doing interviews himself of candidates today. So we're in the middle of competition, which we'd rather be on the front end of that with some of the stuff.
Okay.
And then sort of the last thing, if we're done with that part of it, is mental health and some of the stuff that's been going on. And on a couple of fronts, I've been talking with and continue to talk with Commissioner Bates on a variety of issues with the mental health end of it. I've talked with Leanne Theodore and soon the First Select Woman on possibility of them bringing on that social worker, community outreach person sooner than later because of the stuff that's been really going on in the community. We had an incident last week earlier in the week that I know both Commissioner Elmer and Chair O'Shaughnessy are going to listen to and actually see later on, involving a call that didn't turn out to be a mental health call, but quickly did, and what the officers have to go through and the danger that's involved in it. So we actually have some body cam footage and audio that I think they'll find interesting but troubling too, and what goes on in society. So I just want everybody in tune with what the officers are out there dealing with, what they're seeing in some of the calls that they are going on, and sort of what's happening with society today day and the number of mental health calls that we are going on. So, and I don't know, Lisa, if you want to have anything to chime in on that. That'd be appreciated.
Commissioner Bates and I and the chief met with with Danielle, first selectwoman, and had a meeting about this. And Commissioner Bates, would you like to just make some comments about that? I know you had some other meetings up in Hartford regarding 211.
Sure, and thank you, Chief, for that report. We've had some terrific and very productive discussions from the perspective of 211 with Chief Stewart about how we could in Stonington seek to better inform our residents about the resources that are available via 211 in the event of a mental health crisis. We do provide the front door to the adult mobile mental health crisis services, as well as the youth mobile health crisis services. And we believe that there could be, some good that could come out of perhaps some wider publicity here in Stonington to make sure that anyone facing stress or a potential mental health crisis knows that they can call 211 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, all year round. And I'm glad to tell you that we are working right now with the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services because there has been a higher volume of need given the stresses in society, what we're all facing due to the pandemic. And we are pretty rapidly scaling up to be able to provide more bandwidth for that type of crisis call. And part of what we think is possible is that there are calls that absolutely are going to need police intervention. And Chief Stewart, you were referring to one where it sounds as if that was inevitable. But what we have found statistically, a lot of the calls to our mental health crisis line do not have to end with a 911 call or with police intervention. There are ways that those Connecticut residents can be helped through the phone line or through other resources that we can through the phone line direct them to so that their needs can be met and the crisis can be resolved. So we share the goal of finding a way to do more of that, to make sure that Connecticut residents here in our Stonington community know about that resource. And if we can do it right and push out that knowledge, perhaps we can relieve some calls that otherwise are directed to the police, but can be served appropriately through 211. So really, really grateful to Chief Stewart for his willingness to have this conversation and his leadership on it. Thank you to the chair. Both of you bring really important experience and expertise to this conversation. And we are tapping into important national energy here. This is a conversation at the Washington, D.C. level in Congress where communities are trying to figure out how to do exactly this. But we have an opportunity in Stonington to be ahead of the curve and potentially to do something in this regard sooner rather than later. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bates. We appreciate that. Do I have a motion to accept the report of the chief?
So moved.
Mr. Tabor, second.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
That does beg a question. What if you didn't accept it? What would happen?
We go
Just
back to
kidding.
you. You want to talk about your consent? Is there anything on the consent agenda you'd like to talk about, Chief?
Just so you see a few things on there about some good jobs by some officers, thank yous, et cetera. So it continues to come in that way. I think you're going to see a very busy summer. I don't know if anybody, I think I mentioned it a few times already, but if you've driven through downtown Mystic, even yesterday and today, it is like a July day out there right now. People are everywhere. The bridge has actually gone up, so I've been stuck twice in the bridge already, so I know summer has officially arrived. But the traffic without a bridge opening was down past Margaritaville at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon on 215. It was backed up past St. Patrick's at one point in time, and it was not anything to do with the bridge opening. It was just volume, people out and about walking Cottrell Street. There was not a spot to be found. And so I think we're going to have a pretty busy summer. So that sort of gets to my point that we had about the hiring process and status. The sooner we can move, especially if we feel that any of those certified officers can come on board sooner than later, it certainly makes a difference for our summer and the amount of manpower that we have out on the street. So again, appreciate the commission's future action on this. So I know we're going to be busy coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Any questions on the consent agenda from commissioners? You have a motion to accept the consent agenda from the chief?
Chair, I'm sorry, this is Commissioner Bates,
Oh,
just
sure.
a very quick comment. I just wanted to say that it's pretty impressive that every month there are consistently thank yous coming in from the community. And so, you know, just wanted to express my my appreciation to the chief and to, you know, to his whole team, because that's an incredible reflection of the great work they're doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ray. Do you have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
So moved.
So, second? That was Turner and
Elmer,
Elmer. And all in favor?
All right.
aye.
Do I have a motion to join the meeting?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, commissioners, for attending this month's meeting, and we are now going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Bye, everyone. Good meeting.
Good night.
Good night.